Back in 1994, Ernie Irvan was the biggest star of NASCAR. He wasn't just a driver, he was a one-man hurricane. They had signed him 6 years earlier in 1988, hoping that one day he'd be able to fill the massive hole left behind by legends like Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. That season, even with the sport evolving rapidly, he almost made it seem like the achievements of those two weren't so impressive after all. 12 Cup Series victories in just a few years. Earnhardt never managed more than 11 in the same time span. But as good as he was then, it was the fact that he had clawed his way up from absolute poverty, moving across the country with just $700 in his pocket, that had made him their hero. Just a few years before, he was welding grandstand seats and unloading trucks just to make ends meet. And once he made it, it was Irvan who became the people's champion. All while promising the fans he'd bring home a championship soon. I think we all know where this is going.
Into those final corners now. Here they come for the finish. Here's your winner to the stripe.
I'll tell you what, Larry McReynolds gave me a chassis that just wouldn't quit. It seemed to outrun everybody down the straightaway so good.
Well, I tell you, it's pretty emotional. The whole time I kept thinking, you know, Davey never made it to victory lane here. I've been wearing this shirt since I started driving this car. I knew we could do it. This is for Davey.
On August 20th, 1994, during a practice session at Michigan International Speedway, Irvan's right front tire blew out. His car slammed into the wall at over 170 miles per hour. The fans came to the track in tears. They held vigils, the whole deal. It was one of the most devastating moments in the history of the sport, but what hurt the most was that it nearly killed him.
At 8:40 in the morning, point contender Ernie Irvan experienced a horrible crash. After completing a 10-lap practice run, Ernie had decided to return to the pits. While coming through turn 2, where speeds averaged 170 miles an hour, an apparent cut tire sent Irvan violently into the wall. The crash would result in Ernie Irvan being airlifted.
Irvan suffered a basilar skull fracture and severe lung injuries. The doctors gave him a 10% chance of survival.
To an Ypsilanti, Michigan hospital with severe head injuries, including a fractured skull, a swollen brain, as well as collapsed lungs. His prognosis for recovery was slim, but with the racing world silenced, his friends, fans, and fellow drivers kept Ernie Irvan foremost in their prayers, while Ernie Irvan fought the battle of his life.
That's not even a coin flip. That's a miracle if you make it. But Ernie Irvan wasn't about to let a little thing like near death stop him. You see, for a driver who had so much talent behind the wheel, Irvan has always been relentless. Even as he lay in that hospital bed, tubes keeping him alive, part of him was already planning his comeback. His wife, Kim, was told he might never drive again, might never even walk or talk normally. But she knew Ernie better. For 14 months, Irvan fought through excruciating physical therapy. He even went under cognitive rehab. He fought through the doubts, the pain, the frustration. Every single day was a battle, but Irvan treated it like a 500-mile race. One lap at a time, one day at a time. And then on October 1st, 1995, just 14 months after that horrific crash, Ernie Irvan did the impossible. He strapped himself back into a race car at North Wilkesboro Speedway. The entire NASCAR world held its breath. Could he still do it? Was he the same Ernie? Well, let me tell you something. Not only did Irvan finish that race, he came in 6th. In his first race back, it was like he had never left. The fans went wild and the other drivers were in awe. Ernie Irvan was back, and he was hungry for a win. He wanted to show the world that he wasn't just a comeback story. He was still one of the best damn drivers in NASCAR. And in 1996, he did just that. At New Hampshire, Irvan took the checkered flag. It was his first win since the crash, and man, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Even the usually stoic Irvan was overcome with emotion.
Ernie Irvan's triumphant return to Winston Cup competition, the return of a hero.
The two drivers were poised to give racing fans one of the most memorable Winston Cup finishes in NASCAR history.
Still, Irvan had unfinished business. You see, there was one track that still haunted him, Michigan. The place where he nearly lost it all. And in June 1997, Irvan returned to Michigan International Speedway with a vengeance. Now picture this. It's the same track where just 3 years earlier, Irvan had been given a 10% chance to live. The same walls that nearly took his life were now the backdrop for one of the most incredible stories in NASCAR history. Irvan didn't just race that day, he dominated. He led for 33 laps and took a victory that was about so much more than just winning a race. It was about conquering fear, about facing your demons, about proving to the world and to himself that nothing could keep Ernie Irvan down.
Here he comes, around, headed for checkers. Ernie Irvan is finally going to win. The track that nearly did him in for the checkered flag, and he's won the Michigan 400. How about that performance by Ernie Irvan?
This track nearly took your life. Today you took something back from it, a big win.
Laps to go, started getting tears in my eyes. I tell you, it's great. Only in America.
This win was a redemption. This was Ernie Irvan telling the world, I'm still here and I'm still one of the best. But here's the thing about Ernie Irvan's comeback. It wasn't just about the wins. It was about the sheer determination, the refusal to give up, and the ability to stare death in the face and say, not today. Irvan's comeback inspired people far beyond the world of NASCAR. He became a symbol of hope for anyone facing seemingly insurmountable odds. If Ernie Irvan could come back from a 10% chance of survival to win at the highest level of stock car racing, what excuse did anyone else have for giving up? Irvan's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, put it best when he said, if Ernie hadn't had that accident, he probably would have won a lot more races.
I think the number of races, and quite honestly, probably the number of championships was going to be a long list, but unfortunately, it got cut short after that helicopter crash on July 13th, 1993, and we'll never have the answer to those questions about number of wins or number of championships.
And you know what? He's probably right. But the 15 wins Irvan did get mean so much more because of what he overcame to get them. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a Hollywood movie script, right? Too good to be true? Well, let me tell you, sometimes reality is better than fiction. But of course, this is Ernie Irvan we're talking about, so we couldn't really get a fairy tale ending. In 1999, at Michigan again of all places, Irvan suffered another serious crash.
He definitely knows.
Got trouble. Ernie Irvan is in the wall. Oh, got snagged again, and savage crash.
Right, you got Robbie Gordon gathered up and Hutch Strickland, I believe. I can't tell that, or maybe that was...
Looks like Jeremy Mayfield is in it.
That's John Andretti, I'm sorry.
John Andretti.
This time it was clear. The racing gods had spoken. It was time to hang up the helmet. Irvan announced his retirement on September 3rd, 1999, at a tearful press conference. But even as he stepped away from the sport he loved, Irvan left an indelible mark on NASCAR. He wasn't just a great driver. He was a symbol of resilience, of the indomitable human spirit. When you look at Ernie Irvan's career stats, 15 Cup Series wins, 22 poles, 68 top 5 finishes, they're impressive. But they don't tell the whole story about the countless hours of therapy, pain, doubt, fear he overcame. They don't tell you about the inspiration he provided to millions of fans who saw in him a reason to never give up. He may not have won a championship, but he definitely won in life. Because Ernie Irvan's greatest victory wasn't on any racetrack. It was in proving that with enough determination, enough grit, enough heart, you can overcome anything. So the next time you're facing something that seems impossible, the next time life throws you a curveball that looks unhittable, just remember Ernie Irvan. Remember the man who was given a 10% chance to live and turned it into a 100% chance to inspire. Because that, folks, is what a true champion looks like.